Hi everybody, welcome back. So this is Coffee with Lorelei number 3, and these are questions with regards to coping with the long recovery. And as I've said before, thank you so much for honoring me with your questions, and I'm so excited to be a part of this community. You guys are all so awesome. And of course, I'm not a DNRS coach or a registered clinical counselor. These are answers from my experience and my journey, and they might not fit for you, and that's okay. I just take what you find helpful and leave the rest. And I understand that there are limitations with this Q&A process. I might not know the exact circumstances of the question, or I might not have interpreted it correctly, and you might not be interpreting my answer correctly because I'm only thinking of certain scenarios. So please use your wisdom and your intuition and your judgment. Okay? The questions are about coping with a long recovery. And the first question is, how did you become okay with your recovery taking so long? What did you do when doubts came in? So first of all, I didn't know my recovery was going to take this long. So I just head down and I just, kept on going. And I think for me is, okay, so I'm going to ask some more questions along that line. How do you stay motivated as a long-time retrainer? And my question for Lorelei is how to keep motivated. And so I think a big part of this journey for me was being connected with the DNRS community. So I'm part of the celebrations group, as you know, and laughter yoga groups, and the DNRS community on the forum. And, I've been doing DNRS, and I still do DNRS because it's who I want to be. And I think I've mentioned in my my celebrations talk that this is the focus for me shifted probably about 2 years in that it wasn't a journey about its and recovery. It became a journey of transforming and becoming who I wanted to be. So then it took all the timelines and benchmarks out, and just learning about myself, self-acceptance and self-compassion and self-love and self-forgiveness and self-care, learning about self-care. I mean, those were all sort of self-love. And so the focus changed, and so I stopped kind of measuring how long it was going to take. However, I do realize that, in the first few years of my journey, the its were very uncomfortable, and so I don't know if I could have actually switched that mindset earlier. So I think also that to give yourself some self-compassion, because some days I would go, oh, this is taking so long. I have uncomfortable its, and give myself some compassion. And the only thing some days that kept me going was this community. I'd reach out to another DNRS retrainer, and I'd read on the celebrations group, she did that, and she can do it, I can do it, and he did that, and if he rewired that, I can do it too, and just kind of keep kind of your eyes on the prize, and get the support from the community. So if you're not plugged in, or you're not sort of connected, then I think it makes it a bit more difficult. Of course, I know that it's not in everybody's training zone to be connected. So do what you can, watch my videos, go on the forum and read what you can, follow your joy and just celebrate life and do as much of the 5 pillars as you can and trust in the process. And also, the measuring how long the recovery is for me a bit of a pop, because you're always focusing on, and of course it's human, right? If you're in distress and it's quite uncomfortable, but to realize that if you have that focus, that perspective, you are almost re-identifying. For me, it was re-identifying with being broken and not realizing that it was a matter of getting my body to trust me again and changing how I was thinking and changing how my limbic system was being triggered. So that's my ideas on that. I don't know if that resonates with you or not. And it takes time to become aware of negative self-dialogue and unhealthy core beliefs, and it takes time to have that immersion in new healthy beliefs. And so give yourself some time. And of course, it takes time for certain physiologies to catch up too. So, and it's that balance of inserting the new limbic subconscious records, their concerts, and also letting your physiology catch up with you. And I often would say, my brain and body aren't any different than anyone else's. So if they can get better, I can. So that was sort of one thing I always went to. And it says, what things did Lorelei add to her DNRS practice? Books or additional practices? So let's to do one at a time. My top books, the four agreements was a big aha moment for me. And when I read that book, it was like, wow, I have been taking things personally and making assumptions most of my life. So that was a big one. And you can get it from the library. It's a very popular book. And there's also PDFs of summaries of the book online for free. So if you have very limited financial resources, you can just download the PDF. It's just like a 4-page summary of the entire book. And it's actually, if you can't find it, just message me and I'll send you the PDF. And the book is actually quite short. I think it's like, like this big, and I think I read it in a few hours. So that was a very, very moment book for me. The other book that I love that another retrainer recommended was The Art of Extreme Self-Care by Cheryl Richardson. It's very short as well. It's basically it's got 8 chapters, and you're supposed to do 1 chapter a week. And that was sort of huge for me, because I had no idea what self-care was, period. And I had no idea what a self-care boundary was. And so that was a big book for me. I actually recommended it to some teenagers, friends of mine who had teenagers who were kind of going through some its, and I said, well, if they don't want to do DNRS, at least maybe they'll look at this book, because it's basically a 20 to 30 minute read per chapter, and it's 8 chapters, and there's a little workbook, and you can kind of do some question answering, but that was a really good book for me. The other books I really like are Brene Brown. She's awesome. Rising Strong, I think, is one of my favorite books, and Braving the Wilderness. That was a really good book. And she has TEDx talks, and she has for those of you who have Netflix, she has a Call to Courage. It's just over an hour and 15-minute talk, and she summarizes most of her important principles in that talk. Another practice of laughter yoga, of course, because I found that I have a lot of head its, and I should say I had a lot of head its. And so I would do my 1 hour practice, and sometimes I would do my 1 hour practice in the morning and have it and do another, half an hour, 45 minutes in the afternoon. And after I'd done my 1 hour practice in the morning of DNRS, I would find that I still had its, but then I would join a laughter yoga, and all the its would go. And so all my head its would disappear like magic after one laughter yoga session. So I thought, well, you know what, I got to keep on doing this. And I think my head its were from sort of an imbalance in neurochemistry, neurotransmitters in my brain. So the laughter yoga was really helpful, and it made me so much more lighthearted in my life. So I really like that. Dancing, I love to dance. I love to go into nature. I love music. I love to look at plants and mushrooms and flowers and anything that gives you joy. Go do. Okay? And I did meditate. I still meditate. I love the Oprah Winfrey Deepak Chopra meditations. And they have a sign up where they sort of give you a free 21-day meditation. It used to be 3 or 4 times a year. I haven't downloaded them recently, so I don't know whether they're still doing that. But you can purchase them, and you can also find some of them online for free on YouTube. But I sort of recorded a whole bunch when they were being offered free, and so I just listened to them again and again. So I love to meditate, and it just sort of quiets the limbic and the total chatter in my head. So I find that really helpful. And let's see, the other, so I follow my joy, so go do that. And the Meaning of Life app is a meditation app created by Gupta. And many of you know that sort of the 2 main neuroplasticity training programs that are sort of common in North America are the DNRS program created by Annie Hopper and the amygdala retraining program created by Gupta in the UK. And the programs are very similar. I've actually done both of them. I started off with the Gupta program, and then I got the DNRS program, and I was trying to do both of them at the same time. And I just found that the DNRS program for me was much more helpful for that period of my journey. And then so I used DNRS for most of my journey. And for the end part of the journey, I actually switched back to the Meaning of Life app, which is free. And it's a 30-day app, and you can download it on your phone. I think many of you actually know about it. He's got some of his rewiring tools in sort of day 13 to day 17, kind of a little mini summary of a lot of his neuroplasticity and retraining tools. But also it has teaching videos at the beginning of every day. So so the 30-day app, each day starts off with a teaching video, and then there's 2 different meditations, and there's sometimes there's workbooks and where you can write down ideas. So I found that really helpful, and I still actually like to go back to it. There's an healing the inner child meditation. I think it's on day 10 of the app, but if you download the app, and like I said, it's absolutely free, and you go through the timeline, there will be like inner child healing app, a healing meditation, and there's another one that's called the unresolved emotions meditation. So that one was super helpful for me too. So that was yes. So those were some different things that I used, and gardening. I know lots of you like gardening, so just do whatever gives you joy to supplement your practice is what I recommend. And I think the last two books, etc., is and people is Dr. Kristen Neff. I think I've talked to her about her before in my blogs. Awesome researcher for and of course Dr. Brene Brown is also an awesome researcher too. So I kind of like because I do adhere to my biomedical my medical code of ethics of, when you're giving advice, first do no harm, is I like to share things that have been researched because I know that they'll likely be helpful. Not saying that things that are not researched are not helpful. It's just that when you're going to giving advice or offering, you can say, okay, this is from my own journey. None of it's been researched, and DNRS has not been well researched. Still valuable, but other things that outside of my experience, I don't like to sort of push too much. But if it's Dr. Brene Brown's social work research, it's well done, and Dr. Kristen Neff, well researched, and Dr. Kelly McGonigal. Dr. Kristen Neff has the mini self-compassion technique, and I think I've talked about this before, where, if you're going through a difficult time, and that, and let's say it's, you're having emotional pain or you're having physical its, and it's okay to, give yourself some love and say, you know what, it's 3 steps. It's 1 is this is a moment of suffering. And number 2 is, may I be kind to myself. And number 3 is, suffering is a part of life, to add your spiritual belief in there. And, in everyone's life, a little rain must fall. And so that's her mini self-compassion technique in a nutshell. I've used lots. And I'm going to actually jump into a question that I got from my coffee number 1 recording, is that, retraining is almost like a paradox, because on one aspect you have to say, okay, this is no big whoop, but on the other hand, it is also a big whoop. So, and I think you all know what I mean, right? It's like, okay, let's say I'm training on walking a block, and it's like, oh, easy peasy, I can do that. I can walk a block, and it's no big deal, and everybody walks a block. But on the other hand, if your limbic system is like a 3-year-old child, and it's really stirred up because it has these fears and worries, you need to calm it down and say, I know, Limby, you're upset, you're worried, let me give you a hug. We've got this. We're doing DNRS. It's a new day, and you're a new you. And, it's okay to be scared, but, we've got this. I have all the tools I need. It's okay. So it's almost like sometimes you have to make it easy peasy, but sometimes you need to validate how big it actually is, that you're being brave and you're being courageous, and that it's okay to be a little scared, because daring greatly is risk, right? And risk of vulnerability and risk of failure, and it'll be all fine. And so it's kind of that balance for me of that easy peasy, but also validating. So I use the mini compassion technique from Dr. Kristen Neff a lot. And the last one is Dr. Kelly McGonigal. She's got this great TEDx talk about how to make stress your friend, and about all the research that was done initially about how negative stress was for your body. Is actually not the stress itself, but actually how we think about the stress is actually what triggers the can chemistry, which is super interesting. So they found that if people who look at stress in a positive fashion, like, oh, you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to learn, this is a great opportunity to see how I can deal with this, and my body is well equipped for some short-term rushing, or it's that actually they found the way you think about the stress is what triggers the can versus the dose chemistry. So if it's in your training zone to watch that, How to Make Stress Your Friend, by Dr. Kelly McGonigal, that's probably the most DNRS friendly languaged video that she has. Some of the other ones, she does have a few books out. I haven't read them. I've only watched her TEDx talks. Some of the other talks are not using DNRS friendly language, so I that's the best one I can think of that would be helpful. And there were some more questions about what recommendation can you give about going through an ebb after you felt like hey, this might just work, and then things kind of took a nosedive, and some more questions along that line. It goes back to pillar 1, I think, about having faith that recovery will come, and it's one step at a time. And if you give your body the time and the tools that it needs, it will heal. Our body is miraculous. We don't heal bones. The bone heals by itself. Like, we set the bone and allow the bone to heal, it heals by itself. And just like your skin, like if you get a little minor cut, there's nothing that medical science can do to heal that cut. Your skin knows how to heal. It will heal itself. So if you keep on activating the parasympathetic physiology, your body will heal. And so again, listen to your body, and self-care, self-compassion, self-care boundaries, and get your body to trust you. Because for myself, I wasn't listening to it, and it started shouting because I wasn't listening to it. And promise your body that you'll give it the care that it needs and the boundaries that it needs, and lots of havening. I love to haven. And you've just got to get to the root of the problem. And something, the negative self-dialogue and your perception of situations is triggering the limbic response. So it's not the situation that may be or may be not triggering your limbic response. I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a genuine, valid circumstance where your limbic system should be triggered. But often in North American culture, it's our perception of the situation and not the situation itself that has triggered the limbic response. And you're training your beliefs and your responses and what you think and how you feel and how you react. And so sometimes these take time. So and you're training yourself on how to not have any fear and worry associations with your its, so that when you're incrementally training as your physiology gets better, you're not associating, fear and worry and stress about the its itself. That's what you're training on. And so I think the pop catching is really important. Are you carrying grief and pain from the past? Do you have unresolved emotions? None of this is your fault. Things happen, and sometimes it takes time to become aware of it and to heal it all. And I'm going to throw in my last question, is somebody asked me about counseling, about finding a counselor. So I love my counselor. She's been invaluable to me. She's really helped me pick out, because sometimes the negative core beliefs are quite buried, and sometimes you need a little help to become aware of them. And so I think this is my second counselor. It's just trial and error. And I've gone into each counseling situation saying, okay, I'm doing DNRS. This is what it's about. It's very important to me that we stay with DNRS friendly guidelines, language, and that we don't go through, past events that were really difficult, because I don't want to relive them. And we only sort of stay within the DNRS friendly and the DNRS guidelines. And both counselors actually were really good. The first one just wasn't a very good fit for me, but the second one that I'm using now is great, and she has been instrumental as well in my recovery. So that's that question there. Okay, so that's enough talk from my end. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for honoring me with your presence, and I hope that some of what I said can be helpful. And let's just close our eyes and do another little gratitude. You take a deep breath. Check in with your body. Check in with yourself. And let's take a notice of all the things that we can be grateful for. Thank you for all that we have in this moment. Thank you for who we are. Thank you for what we can do and who we can be. Thank you for this beautiful world. Thank you for our families. And thank you because it's a brand new day and a brand new us. And we get to celebrate life and celebrate us and celebrate now. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.